Welcome to Innovating in a Central Bank with esteemed guests, Mr. Xhiaopuili, Mr. Daniel Khayeshvili, moderated by Mr. Chris Hughes.
Hello and welcome to this session on innovating within a central bank. My name is Chris Hughes and I am the Editor-in-Chief at Unbound Innovations and the FinTech Abu Dhabi Festival. It's my great pleasure to be with you all here today, and thanks for so many of you for joining us. There's been a lot of interest in today's session. We have a super interesting panel coming up, and I want to introduce now our two guest speakers for the panel. With us, we have the people that are responsible for strategic and innovative development at both the central banks of the UAE and Israel, Mr. Xhiaopuili and Mr. Daniel Khayeshvili. Gents, it's great to be joined by you both, and you're both very welcome today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
So in today's session, I want to cover a few things. I want to cover the function of a central bank. I want to cover the central bank's role in the community that it serves. I want to cover the innovations that your respective banks are involved with, the some would say management science of taking an innovation idea and turning it into a reality. And I want to also touch on things like the effect of COVID-19 on innovation. So we've only a short time, so I want to get stuck in. So let me start by asking you, for a good beginning, for the uninitiated, could you both give us a super top-line view, 30 seconds, 1 minute each, on what your bank does, products, services, departments, just a bit of a look inside.
So I'll start. It's okay. I'm the head of the innovation and the technology division in the banking supervision, which is part of the central bank. It's a division we established 3 years ago in order to push innovation into our banking system. And the concept behind establishing this division was the understanding that innovation can't be pushed in the framework of a central bank because of the nature of conservativeness that we have in central bank usually. So we made a new division, which unique mission is to push innovation, to learn and speak the language of the fintechs, and basically be the bridge between the traditional financial world to the new world that's coming on.
Okay, I may talk a little bit. Yeah, thank you. I'll talk a little bit about our initiative in the Central Bank of UAE. Basically, I mean, what we are looking into is to turn UAE become a smart financial center. Okay, to do that, we think fintech is the key, and then by doing that, we need to create a very mature fintech ecosystem, and also to do that, we need a strategy. And then by doing that, the Central Bank of UAE has recently set up a FinTech Innovation Office. And this office have a strategy, to build a mature FinTech ecosystem by doing 5 major sort of focus areas. One is the research and application. The other one is regulatory interface to provide a harmonized regulatory framework for the market and the sector as a whole. And then we also create a collaboration platform to allow all stakeholders to come together to work together with joint initiatives. And fourthly, we want to create a talent development program because talent is key for the fintech ecosystem. And finally, is a cross-border collaboration. So we want to make all this, put all this together and make the ecosystem become a mature, robust ecosystem.
Okay, that's very clear to me. So obviously, central banks are a hugely consequential institutions to the society and communities that they serve. And innovation in these institutions must be handled with care, for want of a better phrasing, whilst also achieving the progression that's needed to ensure better customer service and competitiveness. So how are both of your banks ensuring the right balance between innovation and risk? Daniel, we can start with you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So basically, what we did in our new division of innovation and technology, we put together the part of innovation with the part of the risks that are coming out with this new innovation and these new technologies. So we are going a step by step, and we're looking through that. Once we, on one hand, we are taking more risks. We encourage even banks to take more risks and to be more innovative. But on the other hand, we are making sure that those risks are managed and the banks can understand really what they're doing. So it's a step-by-step process when you put more innovation and you check the risk. You put more innovation and you check the risk, and you check the controls, and you make sure that it's going okay.
Okay. From the Central Bank of the UAE, when we look at the balance between innovation and risk, okay, so what we are doing is we need a very solid foundation. I have mentioned about the strategy, how we build a fintech ecosystem, and also how we make it, and then to make it as a smart financial center. But we need a very solid foundation. What I mean by solid foundation, we need to do two major things. Okay, in relation to risk, in relation to innovation. One is we need a very robust, comprehensive regulatory framework. Okay, so that will help to minimize and also manage the risk. So we need a very robust set of regulations. I mean, I try to share what we are doing at the moment. We are going to put up a very comprehensive payment regulatory regime, as well as a fintech regulation. So by providing that, so people know the rules, make sure the risks are managed. And then the second part about innovation, we will provide a very robust digital infrastructure to support the development. So this kind of foundation will help what I just talked about: research application, talent development, collaboration, regulatory interface, cross-border collaboration. So this will be the way or the model we choose, okay, in order to make the fintech ecosystem become a mature ecosystem.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I can add one more sentence, Chris, if I may. We know that usually regulators and central banks are very good with risks and managing risks and regulating risk and how banks need to manage them. What we weren't so good is in the innovation part. So we, in my division at least, we're trying to change this balance and make sure that we are in our looking or conservative look at risk, we won't stop innovation. So that's a balance that you have always to look carefully and make sure that that you not stop innovation.
Okay, so thank you for that. Recently, the great consultancy McKinsey said that digital transformation has vaulted forward by 5 years in around 8 weeks as a result of the pandemic. In fintech specifically, activities are accelerating at an unprecedented pace around things like open banking and payments, thrusting us towards things like a cashless society and reliance on digital payments. How are your banks responding to the current situation?
Okay, this time maybe I come first, okay, and then Daniel can supplement, your view. From our perspective, we see opportunities more than problem of the COVID-19 or we are talking post COVID-19 now. And what we have seen so far, because of the social distancing and also a lot of restriction of traveling, we see technologies help a lot in terms of doing business, in particular financial services. And then you mentioned about payments. That's the growth we have seen so far is significant. And then because of people try to avoid using cash, the banknotes, because that may be problematic, spread the virus. And then because of that, the Central Bank UAE, now we are putting up a digital infrastructure to even facilitate that happening. We are going to build an instant payment platform. Okay, our strategy is to connect everybody, all payment service providers, banks, exchange houses, wallet schemes, all together to provide a full connectivity interoperable model. So in future, in the UAE, a wallet can pay a bank account can pay an exchange house account, and then no matter you use a bank account or wallet account, you can pay a merchants. You can do online, you can do all kind of transfer services. And then we put in addressing scheme. You use your mobile phone number, your Emirates ID, your email address. Basically, it's a proxy scheme. And then using QR code, you can do payments within the ecosystem. We provide that digital infrastructure to facilitate all these kind of fintech developments.
Daniel?
Yeah, I agree with Shukri that the situation of COVID-19 has gave a great push for digital transformation and the use of digital services. I think that in Israel, in the last few years, the banks, with the support of the regulator, worked hard on digital transformation. So when the COVID hit us, they were already ready for this situation, and things went more nicely. But even more than that, I think that we saw that the bank did some adjustment to answer the needs of the new situation. For example, we in the central bank, with conjunction with the banks, we came with a plan to postpone the payments of loans. So in a short time, there was like more than 500,000 of requests for postponing loans, which was basically equal to 15% of the banking credit portfolio, which is huge numbers. And if at the beginning it starts, the postponing started through call centers, the banks really fast developed an app that allows the whole process to be fully digital. So you can see that the adjustments were there and they were able to do it really fast.
Okay, so moving on from that and those great insights, I want to ask now your views on the role that the central banks play in supporting. We're going to go back to ecosystems. So I know, Shukri, you spoke about this earlier. What role do the central banks play in supporting the financial technology ecosystems in the nations that they serve? I'm talking everything from the startup ecosystem to the innovation deployed by large corporate banks. And I know specifically, Daniel, with you, there will be a role around the role of the regulator and introducing innovation to market. So what's the role of the central bank in the ecosystem?
Okay. When we, plan to set up a fintech office for the Central Bank of the UAE, we have done some kind of benchmarking, and we also want to draw reference from other markets, how they do it. And what we have found, there are a few models, adopted by different central banks. Some of them, they are kind of on the driving seat. They are the driver. They are the initiator. And then the other category is some of them just act as a facilitator, work with the industry to facilitate certain things. And then to the other end, we have seen central banks, they rather just act as a regulator. And then they make sure all the risks are managed properly, and then let the industry, the market, to drive the initiatives. So after looking at all these models, our management, particularly my boss, His Excellency the Governor of the Central Bank of UAE, we prefer to be more proactive, to be a driver, to be an initiator of the entire fintech ecosystem. So that's what we are doing at the moment, to drive things and then to be proactive, work with the industry, but we also need collaboration. We cannot do it alone. We identify all the key stakeholders, but we are on a kind of driving seat to work with them to facilitate, to initiate things.
Daniel, any comments?
Yeah, it's a nice notion. I think that we as regulators, we have to be aware of the changes in the financial world, in technology, also even in customer preference. And make sure that we are not the ones that are blocking the financial industry from improve itself. And basically what I think that as regulators, we have to do three basic things. One is to remove or lower regulatory barriers to digital transformation and using new technologies. Second, we have to not impose a heavy regulation on every new activity that is based on new technologies. We have to wait. We have to see how it's developed, especially if we mitigate the risk on the process. And then once it's maturing, then come with the regulation. And third, I think that as regulators, and that's in relate to what Shupri just said, we have to build or be leading of building the infrastructure that upon it, the financial industry can build their own innovation. So the infrastructure is really important. And if we have time later, I'll give some examples.
So we're coming to the end of our interview. I think, certainly for me, we could have just went on and on and on with this conversation. It's fascinating to get a really good insight into the workings of how central banks of nations are developing and innovating. I think a lot of people watching today will want a lot from this. I'm going to finish off with a question. You know, I'm thinking about the audience, and the audience is not always, you know, senior executives making big decisions. Sometimes it's the younger people in our community as well. And I always like to ask this question. Although it's not directly concerned with central banks, for you folks personally, as professionals at the top end of your respective game, you know, lots of young people are watching here. They have innovation interests. They're coming through the ranks, and they'll look to you as senior executives as you know, role models for careers. What piece or pieces of career advice would you give these youngsters who are watching today, wanting to pursue a career in innovation and change management? Maybe we start with you.
Okay, don't set any boundary. Be innovative. That's my advice.
No boundaries. Okay, and Daniel, anything from you? Any parting thoughts?
I think is not to be afraid to think big and to push your idea. And once you have the opportunity, just put your legs in the door. Because even if it's not exactly what you meant, when you push your leg inside, it will happen. The world is going into a changing. Innovation is a necessity. And at the end, whatever you'll do, you'll succeed.
There you go, folks. Two pieces of advice that I think we could all learn from. Thank you to both of you today for joining us. We really do appreciate your time, and you, the audience, as well. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you've enjoyed this conversation. But now that is all from me, Chris Hughes, and Shupri and Daniel from Israel Central Bank. Back to the search.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to FinTech Abu Dhabi.